Okay, another great question. This spills over from AO2 and AO3, where we are looking at limiting factors, right? This is about limiting factors. So anytime you see anything, so you know you're going to see this. So again, like I said, we're building. We know that we have absorption costing, reapportioning of that absorption costing. We know we can see flex budgets, and we know we can see limiting factors. So we now know what things are coming through from the costing element or the costing side of this. So let's be familiar with this. Right. So what do we have? LF Limited manufactures 3 products, X, Y, and Z, no problem. And it tells us that it gives us some information. So we're purely interested in contribution. So contribution will end here, right? I'm not interested in the fixed overhead. Well, in terms of finding out my contribution, we might need it depending on the kind of information you get. Sometimes some questions want you to actually go out, continue and work out some kind of profitability. But anyway, for now, I will work out my contribution for X, Y, and Z. So just do that first, just to keep your mind at rest, first of all. And I think there's a table that helps me. But let me just, so these are my products, sales 100,000, and here we are. So this is the scenario here. So I'm just going to first of all just write here my contribution so we know what we're dealing with. So here my contribution, of course, is 1,000. Take away this business here of 750, and that's 250,000, of course, because this is in thousands. And here my contribution, of course, here is the 1125, take away the 562, 562.5, 562.5, take away the 187.5, the 187.5, and that's 300. That's 375. And here the contribution is 625. Take away the 437.5. Take away the 62.5. And so here the contribution. This is your contribution. This is your contribution. Great stuff. Now, this is the contribution for all of these units. I think that's really the important thing to highlight. They've done a sort of total thing, right? They've done a total. It's almost like a budget, isn't it? It's a budget. This is the contribution, all the things. Remember, this is in thousands, by the way, as in the amounts. So this is really 250,000. This is really 375,000. This is 125,000. So I suppose you can then argue that you can find the contribution per unit, which is what they allow us to do in the next table. And that's by me dividing this, for example, by 5,000, by me dividing this by 7,500, by me dividing this by 2,500. Yes, so that allows me to then arrive at this contribution per unit. So let's do that, no? 250,000 divided by 5,000 is 50. So my contribution per unit is, I'll choose my pen color here, is 50 pounds per unit. My contribution per unit here is 7,500. Sorry, 375,000. 375,000 divided by 7,500 units, and that's 50 as well. And here my contribution per unit is 125,000 divided by 2,500, and that's 50 pounds a unit as well, which is slightly surreal, but I'm going to record this and check the answers later because I'm slightly surprised that they're all exactly 50 pounds a unit. No problem. Now, the question we want to know is, I can probably see that we're talking about machine hours here. Right? I mean, they've given it to me, so I know already that they're going to talk about machine hours, and they do. And they sort of tell you, listen, your machine hours are limited, right? They're limited. You don't have enough. So the whole purpose of limiting factors is to say, let me work with the machine hours in the order where I get the greatest output, the greatest contribution per machine hour. So I suppose I'm now asking you to then say, well, the machine hours per unit, they tell us. So I'm just literally lifting up those figures from the 20, 21, and 26. 20, that's 20, 20, 21, and 21 and 26. 20, 21, and 26. And therefore, the contribution per machine hour is, of course, here is the 50 divided by 20, which is 2.5. Right, so for every hour we invest in product X, we get 2.5 pounds of contribution. 50 divided by 21. Like I say, I am slightly surprised at the idea that all these are perfectly 50, but hey, it's not impossible. £2.38. And then 50 divided by 26. Divided by 26, that's 1.92. 1.92. So as far as ranking is concerned, I will make X first. I will make X first. Then I will make Y, and then I will make Z, because I get the highest contribution, if you like, there. Right? So let's look at it. So like I said, I only have 296,000 hours. That's the situation. I can clean all this out so I can focus now. So let's make all the units of X. And for X, well, I need 20 hours of X per unit. So let's make it. Think of a bakery, and you don't have time to make all these cakes, and you need the ovens. That's what we're dealing with here. So you need 20 hours to make each of these units. So let's do that. So I think I can do that here. I know what the contribution is. So I'm going to make all the units of 5,000, all the 5,000 units. I'm making X, right? So if I'm making X, I mean, it's also important that you keep a little tally of the hours you're using. But you're making 5,000, so I'm just going to do it here. 5,000 times 20, right? Which is what I'm doing. So 2 times 5 is 10. And I have 4 zeros. 10, and then 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 100,000 hours that I've used now. No problem. So in terms of contribution, my contribution is £50 per unit. So contribution per unit is £50. So here, of course, I now therefore have 25, and I have 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 250,000. Then I'm making Y. How many units of Y am I making? I'm making 7,500 units of Y. So 7,500 units of Y, and I need 21 hours per unit. So let's do that. 7,500 times 21, and that's 157,500 hours that I'm going to be taking up. So now that's a total so far of 257,500 hours used up so far. So I still have some more time, so I can make all those units. 7,500 of Y, 7,500 at the £50. At the £50. When I do that, 7,500 times 50, I will have 375,000, right? And then, of course, I will make the Z. So my Z number of units is that's restricted based on the amount of hours I have left. So if I have a total of 296,500 hours, and I've already used up 257,500 hours making X and Y, the question is, how many hours do I have left? And so I have 296,500, take away 257,500, which takes me to 39,000, right? So I have 39,000 hours left. Now it tells us here that it takes 26 hours to make 1 unit of Z. And therefore, if you have 39,000 hours, the question is, how many units of Z can you make? So I must therefore be dividing 39,000 by 26, right? 39,000 divided by 26 takes me to 1,500 units. So the maximum I can make is 1,500 units of Z, 1,500 units of Z, and the contribution per unit is also £50. So 1,500 times 50, that gives you 75,000. I mean, this is just pure coincidence that it's made in the question. It doesn't have to be. Contribution is purely based on the difference between, well, what they're, well, again, if you notice, all I did was to just subtract the variable cost from sales, and I divided that by the annual number of units. It just happened to be 50, but focus on sales minus variable costs, and that gives you total contribution, and you can divide that by the total number of units. Anyway, let's add the total contribution that's come to us, which is this plus this plus this. So they give that, add that 375 plus the 250,000, and you have 700. Change my pen color. When I add all those together, add all these three, you get 700,000. Right. So the question, this is what I was saying earlier on, is what is our fixed cost? So in a way, this is where where you need this information now. So somehow someone has decided that the overheads are, well, I mean, to be fair, this is total, so this is a really good question. This has just been split because these are totals. It just tells us this is the total, because this is a budget, isn't it, for totals? So the fixed total overheads, of course, is the sum of those, is the sum of these individual parts, isn't it? And so therefore, when I add all this together, I get, when I add all this together, I have 5 here, I have 4 here, and I have here 645,000. 645,000, yes? And that's what we have, 645,000. So let's take that away. Again, I might have slipped up. We'll check the answers and I'll correct them on the screen. I'm not going to prepare the video again because sometimes it's so easy to slip up on these things. So you take away 645,000. A bit long-winded, this question. And then you get a profit, of course, of 55,000. Cool. Great stuff. And that's that. Yes, 55. Let's check to see how we did. Question 82 is a bit long-winded, and I think it's a bit let's see, 55,000. Let's go here. 5,000. Let's try 100. Let's try 120. Yes, we're right. There we are. They were 50, 50, 50. Look at that. Isn't that something? It was 50, 50, 50. Strange. 1, 2, 3. And it says, oops, I don't know what's happened there. And that is, you can see that total profit there of 55,000. Cool. Great stuff. Awesome.